My boss stole my idea, my shot, and made sure no one knew my name. But the next time he saw me, he didn't recognize the man I had become until it was too late. Have you ever poured months of your soul into something only to watch someone else steal the spotlight? That was me. I had been working at Claiborne Dynamics for 4 years, a mid-sized tech firm in Chicago that prided itself on innovation from the inside. Whatever that meant. Most of the real ideas came from people like me, quiet, underpaid, grinding behind a desk while someone else collected the applause. The project was called Novalink. It was supposed to be an internal communication platform, one that could bridge teams across locations with smart AI summaries, live updates, and real-time translation. I pitched the concept to my boss, Darren, during one of our one-on-ones. Thought it was safe. I even brought a full prototype I had been developing in my spare time, hoping he would help me bring it to the execs. He nodded through my whole pitch. Eyes lit up like he was actually listening. Said something like, "This is gold, Jacob. We'll refine it together and make sure the board sees it." I believed him. Fool that I was. 2 weeks later, I saw the internal memo. Novalink was being presented to the board by Darren himself. Same name, same key features, even the mock-up slides I had made. My name was not mentioned once. I sat in that boardroom, watching him present my work like it was his brainchild, and I just froze. The board loved it, applauded, approved immediate funding. And when it was over, Darren got a handshake from the CEO and a promotion to VP of Product Strategy. I walked back to my desk that day like a ghost. Could not even hear the office chatter around me. My world had gone quiet. It felt like someone had ripped pages out of my story and published them under a different name. I did not say a word to Darren, did not call him out. What would have been the point? Instead, I opened a blank document, and I started writing down everything I would do differently if the idea were truly mine to shape. No middlemen, no boardroom politics, just vision, execution, and freedom. That night, I submitted my resignation. Walking away felt good. For about 5 minutes. Then the panic set in. I had some savings, but not much. Just enough to get me through a few months if I lived cheap. No trips, no dining out, no safety net. I moved out of my decent one-bedroom and into a dingy sublet where the heater rattled like it was dying and the neighbor's dog howled at random hours. Every morning I woke up staring at the water stains on the ceiling, wondering what the hell I had done. But then I would boot up my laptop and remind myself, this was mine now. No more watching someone else take credit. I called the project RevNova. It was the same idea at its core, real-time collaboration tools powered by AI, but stripped of all the corporate fat. I wanted it lean, fast, and human-centered. No buzzwords, no hollow promises. Just something real people could use and understand. The nights stretched long. Sometimes I would code until 3 in the morning, then crash on the couch with my back screaming and my eyes burning. I drank too much coffee. Skipped meals. Lost track of days. There were moments I broke down and seriously considered calling Darren just to ask for my old job back. But something always stopped me. I remembered the look on his face when the CEO clapped him on the back. That smug little nod, like he had done something brilliant. That was all the fuel I needed. By month 3, I had a basic version of RevNova running. It was buggy, held together with duct tape and prayers, but it worked. I sent demo links to everyone I knew from the tech scene, ex-coworkers, college friends, even a few LinkedIn contacts I barely remembered adding. No one replied at first. Then, one night, I got a message from a guy named Eric, someone I had met at a startup pitch night 2 years earlier. He said, "Hey, this is impressive. We've been looking for something just like this." It was the first real glimmer of hope. Eric's team was small, just 5 people working on a non-profit-focused logistics platform, but they were hungry and desperate for something that could streamline their chaotic comms. He offered to pilot RevNova for a month, unpaid, just to see if it helped. It was not glamorous. I spent that month hand-holding through every glitch, patching code on the fly, even joining their Zoom calls just to make sure things didn't break mid-meeting. But they stuck with it. And by the end of the trial, Eric sent me an email that I still have saved. He wrote, "We don't just want this. We need this. What would it take for us to license it?" I stared at that email for 20 straight minutes. Then I cried. Not even ashamed to admit it. That one message felt like the world opening up just a crack after months of darkness. He signed a modest deal, barely enough to keep me afloat, but it gave me the validation I needed to keep pushing. Still, things were not easy. I took freelance coding gigs on the side to survive. My diet was whatever I could make in 5 minutes or less. I stopped seeing friends. Dating? Forget it. There was no room in my life for anything that did not move Revnova forward. And then came the crash. 3 months in, my laptop, my entire operation, fried itself. No warning, just smoke and a dead screen. I sat there in the coffee shop staring at the black screen like my entire future had just evaporated. I had backups, but not of everything. Some code was lost. A few hours worth, maybe more. But the real damage was to my spirit. That was the first time I really believed I might have made a mistake. That all this struggle was just a path to nowhere. Then something unexpected happened. One of Eric's teammates, a woman named Tasha, messaged me. She had heard about the laptop fiasco. Said her cousin ran a local tech refurb business and might be able to hook me up with something cheap. 2 days later, I had a refurbished ThinkPad in my hands. Nothing fancy, but it ran. That little act of kindness, it reminded me that not everyone was like Darren. Some people still believed in paying it forward. And that belief, it kept me going. Revnova limped along for a while, picking up a few more small clients, mostly scrappy startups and nonprofit orgs that could not afford bloated enterprise software. Each new user brought its own headaches, but also feedback that helped me refine the product. I stopped thinking about perfection. I just focused on, does it work? I was still sleeping on a pull-out couch that gave me back spasms, living off ramen and cheap black coffee. Every month felt like a question mark. Rent was always just barely covered. But then something happened that shook everything up. A guy named Sam reached out. Someone I had met once at a conference Darren had forced me to attend. Back then, I was the guy holding Darren's laptop bag while he networked like a politician. Sam barely noticed me. But now, he was the VP of product at a growing e-learning company, and he had stumbled onto Revnova through a Reddit thread. He messaged me. Is this your platform? If so, let's talk. We did. And to my shock, he offered something wild, a partnership pilot. He had the resources, the reach, and he was frustrated with the clunky tools his team had been using. Your UI is basic, he said, but it feels like it was built by someone who actually understands how we work. I was cautious. This guy had power, the kind that could make or break me. I remembered Darren, how easily charm can cover up greed. But Sam seemed different. Straightforward. No ego. I said yes. That pilot became my second turning point. Within weeks, they rolled out Revnova to 200 employees. And it held. No crashes. Minimal bugs. They even started paying for premium features. Money finally started trickling in. Enough to upgrade my workspace, buy a chair that did not destroy my spine, and even splurge on a fresh hoodie that was not covered in pizza stains. But the biggest win? Confidence. I stopped asking, can I do this? And started thinking, how far can I take it? Still, in the back of my mind, I knew it was only a matter of time before my past would catch up. Darren had not seen the last of me. He just didn't know it yet. It had been almost a year since I walked out of Claiborne Dynamics. I did not follow their updates, but every so often someone would tag me in a post or send me a screenshot. Darren doing interviews, Darren on panels, Darren getting praised for Novalink like he invented the damn wheel. I tried not to let it bother me, but it did. Every single time. Then, out of nowhere, I got a message on LinkedIn. It was from Avery, one of the junior developers who used to sit 2 desks over from me back at Claiborne. She had always been kind, soft-spoken, smart, and way too good to be stuck under Darren's thumb. Her message was short. I saw what you're building. It's incredible. And things here are not going well. That one sentence stopped me cold. We hopped on a call that night. She told me everything. Turns out, Novalink, the product Darren created, was falling apart. The features he added after stealing my prototype were clunky, and his push to scale too fast had wrecked the backend. Teams hated it. Feedback was brutal. Their biggest client had just pulled out. People were quitting. Fast. Then came the line that hit me hardest. They're talking about pulling the plug, and Darren is scrambling. I sat there in silence, letting it sink in. It should have felt like justice. Karma. But all I felt was a strange, quiet ache. Like watching a house you once lived in burn to the ground. Not because you set the fire, but because no one listened when you warned them about the faulty wiring. Avery asked if she could send me her resume. I said yes. By the end of the week, I had 3 more ex-Claiborne employees reaching out, all saying the same thing. We saw what you're doing. Can we join? I started building a team. Not out of revenge, but out of something better, belief. People were choosing to work with me because they trusted the vision. Not because they were climbing some ladder, but because they saw something real. And as our momentum grew, I started to hear whispers from the industry. about a new platform, about a quiet competitor that was solving problems the big guys couldn't. They were talking about us. The first time someone mentioned Revnova at a tech conference, it felt surreal. A friend from an old dev forum messaged me, "Dude, your product just got name-dropped during a Q&A at Innovate West." I pulled up the video later that night. Some exec from a mid-size firm in Seattle was talking about communication software, and when someone asked what tools they used, he replied, "Honestly, we're testing this new thing called Revnova. It's raw, but it's smart. Real potential." I watched that clip 5 times. Within a week, we had 3 demo requests, then 7, then 20. I hired Avery full-time. She brought her quiet brilliance to the front end, smoothing out design issues I had been duct-taping since the beginning. We added Carter, an ex-UX researcher from Claiborne who had a sixth sense for what users needed. The team was scrappy, but sharp. I spent my nights rewriting documentation, fixing bugs, and onboarding new clients. During the day, I was handling finance, legal, outreach, everything. The work never stopped. But for the first time, I was not surviving. I was building. We signed our first 5-figure contract 3 months later. A regional logistics firm wanted a tailored build-out. They wired the deposit up front. I nearly passed out when I saw the confirmation. I upgraded our dev stack, got everyone on new laptops, bought a real coffee machine for the shared co-working space we had just moved into. It still felt unreal, like I was living someone else's story. Until one morning, I opened an email with a sender I never expected to see again. It was from Darren. Subject line, "Catch up." I stared at it for a solid minute, heart pounding like I had just sprinted across the city. Why now? The answer came later that day, through the tech grapevine. A massive expose was circulating in industry circles. Novalink had officially been discontinued. Layoffs had hit Claiborne's product team. Investors were furious. Darren's promotion? Revoked. He was drowning, and I was the lifeboat. I stared at Darren's email for a while before deciding what to do. The subject line, "Catch up," felt like a bad joke, like someone lighting a match after the fires already burned through the house. I left it unread for 2 days. Not because I was busy, though I was. I just needed to sit with the weight of it. Eventually, curiosity won out. I replied, short and blunt, "What do you want to catch up about?" His response was fast. Too fast. Like he had been waiting for me. "Just coffee. Been a while. No pressure." I picked a cafe near downtown. Neutral ground. The kind of place with exposed brick and $5 drip coffee. Nothing flashy. I wore jeans and a hoodie. He came in wearing that same overpriced navy blazer, trying to look put together, but I could see it. He was worn out. His eyes had that defeated kind of glaze people get when everything they built starts to collapse. He greeted me like we were old friends. I nodded back, not offering much. We made small talk for a minute. He asked how I had been. I told him things were moving fast. Left it vague. He mentioned seeing Revnova's name in a few articles. Said it looked promising. Then came the pivot. He leaned in a bit, folded his hands, and dropped the act. Said he had been watching the market, seeing the traction Revnova was getting. He started talking about scale, about vision, about how I had pulled off something impressive. That is when I felt it. The shift. This was not a reunion. It was a pitch. Darren wanted in. Said he had contacts. Industry reach. "I could help you level up, Jake," he said. "Strategic partnerships. Bigger investors. I know that world." I let him talk. He asked if I would consider bringing him on. Maybe as an advisor. Maybe even a partner. "We could do something big together," he said, like he was doing me a favor. And in that moment, something strange happened. I felt calm. Not angry. Not bitter. Just steady. I thought about all those nights spent alone in that freezing sublet. The laptop crashing. The meals I skipped. The people who believed in me when I had nothing to offer but vision and half-written code. Then I looked him in the eye and told him the truth. "You already did enough, Darren. Revnova does not need you." It never did. He blinked like he did not quite hear me right. Then his face dropped, just a fraction. No rage. No yelling. Just quiet defeat. I stood up, left a few bucks for the coffee, and walked out without another word. No revenge speech. No dramatic exit. Just peace. That was enough. 2 weeks after that coffee with Darren, I was knee-deep in code when an old friend from college sent me a link. No message, just a hyperlink and 3 fire emojis. I clicked it. It was an article from TechBridge Weekly, a site that actually carried weight in the tech space. The title? 5 startups quietly redefining team communication in 2025. I skimmed past the intro, not thinking much of it, until I saw the second name on the list. Revnova. My brain stalled for a second. I read it again, slower this time, just to make sure I was not seeing things. Revnova, founded by Jacob Allen, is gaining traction for its human-first design, lightning-fast responsiveness, and refusal to compromise on user autonomy. There it was. My name. My work. A spotlight I never asked for but somehow finally reached. In the next hour, my inbox exploded. People who had ignored my cold pitches months ago were suddenly thrilled to connect. Angel investors, accelerators, even someone from an acquisition team. Everybody suddenly remembered I existed. Ex-coworkers from Claiborne messaged me things like, "Knew you'd make it, man," and "Saw the article, insane." One even sent me a screenshot of the boardroom where Darren once took credit for Novalink. They were joking that it might be getting turned into a storage closet now. I wanted to smile. Really, I did. But then another email showed up. One that made me sit back in my chair and just stare for a minute. It was from Ken Harlow, the CEO of Claiborne Dynamics. I had spoken to the man twice in 4 years, once during a holiday party and again when I held the elevator for him. Now here he was, writing me personally. The message was polished, cold but carefully worded. He said he had been following Revnova's growth and wanted to acknowledge the impressive strides I had made as a young founder. He thanked me for inspiring innovation in the industry and hoped there were no lingering hard feelings about how things had unfolded. He even signed off with something that sounded almost like a compliment. Some of the best ideas emerge when the right minds are given space to flourish beyond traditional structures. Translation: we messed up, but we're not going to say that out loud. I did not reply. Not because I was angry. I just did not see the point. That email was not really about me. It was about optics. About Claiborne trying to save face while their flagship product burned and the guy they ignored started showing up on industry radars. They were trying to rewrite the story, paint it like they were part of my journey. But they were not. The truth is, they only ever saw the value after it became too big to ignore. Later that night, I did not celebrate. No champagne, no rooftop toast. I grabbed my hoodie, my laptop, and walked down to that same old park near my first apartment. The same bench I used to crash on after brutal days at Claiborne, when all I had was a notebook full of sketches and an idea no one wanted to hear. I sat there and watched the world move. A couple jogged past. Some kids argued over a soccer ball. An old man fed pigeons. It was peaceful, grounding. And I realized this was it. This was the win. Not some flashy exit or viral tweet. Just being here, being free, building something real on my terms. And no one could take that from me. It happened at a tech networking conference in San Francisco. 3 days of panels, product showcases, and enough jargon to make your ears bleed. I had almost skipped it. We were in the middle of a tight product sprint, and I was running on fumes. But Eric, loyal, persistent Eric, had pushed. "You've earned this," he said. "People are talking about Revnova now. They need to see the face behind it." So I went. The venue was massive, an old converted train terminal with glass ceilings and polished cement floors. Booths lined the walkways, brands showing off their latest solutions, platforms, and ecosystems. I wandered the crowd, nodding at strangers, accepting business cards, sipping bad coffee in a compostable cup that leaked from the bottom. It was during a breakout session titled Internal Tools, External Impact that I saw him. Darren. He was standing near the back of the room, alone, arms crossed, sipping from a hotel brand paper cup. His blazer looked a little worn, his shoes scuffed. The confident posture I remembered, the kind of stance that once said, "I own this place," was missing. His face looked thinner. His eyes didn't scan the room like they used to, searching for opportunity. They drifted, aimless. And then he saw me. For a second, he stiffened, like his body remembered before his brain did. His eyes locked on mine. A nod. Not quite an invitation, more like a question. I just looked back, neutral. No smile. No wave. Just acknowledgement. And then I turned away. Because at that moment, someone on stage said my name. Jacob Allen, founder of Revnova, the moderator announced, reading from a list of breakout innovators. One of the most disruptive platforms in team communications right now. If you have not seen what they are building, you are missing out. The room clapped. Not a thunderous ovation, but enough. Enough to make people turn. Enough to make heads tilt and hands lift phones to search us up. I felt it then. That quiet shift in the air. And Darren? He just stood there. Frozen, like someone watching a play where they used to be the star, but now they were not even in the cast. He did not approach me, did not try to speak, and I did not seek him out, either, because I had already said everything I needed to say, not in words, but in action, in the late nights in the empty fridge, in the small, consistent steps that led me here. This was not a revenge story. It was a redemption arc. When I wrote myself, one sprint, one bug fix, one gut check at a time. When the panel ended, people came up to talk. Investors, founders, students with notebooks and bright eyes. I gave them my full attention. Every word, every question, every thank you. Because I had earned it, not through shortcuts, not by climbing over others, but by showing up, day after day. Darren was gone by the time I looked back toward the door. Maybe he slipped out quietly. Maybe he knew there was nothing left to take. Either way, I walked out of that building a man at peace, with himself, with the past, with the road that brought me here. A few months later, Revnova moved into its first real office. Not a co-working space, not a sublet. A real office, with our name on the door and sunlight streaming in through big industrial windows that overlooked the edge of the city. The team had grown. What started as just me, sleep-deprived and angry, now included 12 people who actually believed in what we were doing. People who showed up early, stayed late, and smiled when they worked. Not because they were chasing titles, but because they cared. One afternoon, I stayed behind while everyone else went out for team lunch. Just needed a moment. The office was quiet, save for the hum of computers and a half-finished playlist echoing from my speaker. I walked around, touching desks, reading little post-it notes, seeing sketches and schedules and reminders. Then I sat at the window with a cup of coffee, the good kind, and thought back to where it started. The lie, the betrayal, the theft, all of it. I could still picture that meeting room, Darren's voice rehearsing my words, the board nodding like he was some visionary. I remembered walking out of that building like a ghost, dragging my pride behind me. But now, it all felt far away. I did not need revenge. I did not need an apology. What I had built said everything that needed to be said. That is the funny thing about truth. You do not always need to shout it. Sometimes, it just waits. Quiet. Patient. Until the world catches up. I stood up, walked to the whiteboard, and wrote 3 words in the corner, just for me. Keep it real. That was the promise I made to myself. No shortcuts. No fake smiles. No stolen credit. Only work that mattered. And people who mattered more. So yeah, my boss stole my idea. But in doing so, he handed me something better than a title or a paycheck. He handed me purpose. And I will spend the rest of my life honoring that.